Hey girl, hey! Hey boy, hey! It's Mama Beauties here, coming with your next video. I'm super excited. I get to be myself in this video. And we are just going to talk over some information that I found out and what Watts Island is saying about the book and everything else and what I think about the book. So we are just going to get started. There is a lot to cover. So basically, we still don't know that Chris didn't drug the girls with Oxy. We don't know that he didn't give it to Shanann more than once. We don't know that he didn't kill her right when she walked in the door. We don't know that he didn't kill the girls before she got home. We don't know anything except the girls and Shanann are dead and that he took them to the burial place where he left them. I'm tired of talking about that. So, we do know that, but we don't really know how because he's lied so many times. How are we supposed to believe anything that he says? So I watched some other YouTubers, and sometimes Jamie will come in the comments and Frank will come in the comments of another YouTuber. And so I've been looking around and watching things, and these are the things that I have gathered about what the Watts are saying. And they did bust out on another YouTuber's channel some text messages between the author and Cindy and between the author and Jamie. And basically it shows in these text messages, which the author is saying they've been altered. But it does say in these text messages that the author thinks NK was more involved when she was talking to Jamie, and that she really wants to be able to help Chris with this book, and she thinks that if he gets his story out there, he might be able to get an appeal, and that they talk about Chris's headaches, and Jamie tells her that she thinks he might have a tumor, and then the author says back to Jamie that did she think that might be something that was making him act the way that he was on the day of the murders. And so you can see that they had a great relationship, and then something goes south in the messages and they don't anymore. And so then in the end, Cato refuses to give them a copy of the book, and this is what they are saying back to all that. So they did say that she lied and she switched her intentions, that in the beginning it was to help Chris to get his story out there and his faith in his way back to Christ, his redemption story out here. And that they never knew that it was just one chapter. And they never knew it was a true crime book. And they are saying, the Watts family, that they found out everything that we did at the same time when the book came out. But Cato said the texts are altered, and allegedly she admits that that's the way she felt in the beginning. But it changed later on after talking to Chris. The author is reviewed on another YouTuber's channel and on Scott Reich's channel if you want to go check out those interviews. The family of the Watts thought that the book was, again, going to be a faith-based book. And they say that once they found out that it was true crime, that they weren't upset, that they wanted answers just like everybody else. And so Cato would not tell the family anything until after she did her little interview on the Daily Mail. Because she wanted to be the only one with that letter from Christopher, right? She got a huge payout from the Daily Mail. We all know that. And if she would have given that book out to anybody ahead of time, then she wouldn't have been the only one with it. Someone else could have leaked it. And actually, Kathleen Houston is writing a book that comes out in July, and her chapter on Cindy got leaked. And so everybody thinks that Cindy's writing a book, when all actuality, it's Kathleen's book. And it was just the chapters on Cindy. Now, there are other chapters out now, too, that you can listen to. If you go to J is for Justice, they read the first chapter of that book that Kathleen is putting out there on that YouTube channel. And I do watch a lot of other YouTubers, you guys. It doesn't mean that I agree with what they say. It doesn't mean that I'm on that same bandwagon. I just watch them hoping that the family will come in the comments. And I know there are a lot of trolls that aren't really the family. But I watch them because I know that the families are connected to some of these people. And so they know that she got a huge payout from the Daily Mail. And so they feel like that's one of the reasons why she didn't want to give out the book ahead of time to the Watts. They're saying they just wanted the book to brace themselves. But who knows? Now, she did have to postpone her interview on Dr. Oz, and that could be because she had a commitment for a certain amount of time towards the Daily Mail because of that letter, but I don't know the reasoning. It was supposed to have already been aired, her Dr. Oz episode, but it has been postponed still. If anyone knows when that's going to be, please let me know down below in the comments. Then Critical K went on another YouTuber's channel, and I don't really agree with what that YouTuber has to say, so I'm not going to say her name, but she did go on that YouTuber's channel and say that as soon as she told Cindy that Shanann didn't kill the girls, that is when Cindy turned on her. Now, Cindy is saying that she knew that Shanann did not kill the girls all the way since sentencing. And so that is not true. And that personally, I saw Scott Reich's interview of Sherilyn Cadle, and she gave a totally different reason why her and Cindy weren't talking. And on that interview, she said that they quit talking because her and Jamie could not control the narrative of her book. So, which is it, Cadle? You've told two different stories on two different channels. So, who knows? Maybe it's a little of both. We'll never know. Then, I did see the video of the text messages between Sherilyn and Cindy and the text messages between Sherilyn and Jamie that she is saying is altered. And you can find that on JS for Justice's channel. Cadle also said that Chris seemed mad when he released those voice clips about where he got the oxy from. And that was her opinion, that he sounded upset. But she's saying that he sounded upset because his family was making him do it. The family is saying he was upset because Sherilyn put that in the book. So we'll never know if Chris really said that he was taking the oxy to the grave, even though I believe that he was. The thing behind the oxy is there's 4 people that Chris will protect. If he is taking the oxy to his grave, then he either got it from NK, Cindy, Jamie, or Ronnie. Okay? Those are the only places he could have got it. Now, the main reason why I thought that it was NK that gave him the oxy in the beginning was because she was calling rehabs when he went to North Carolina to be with Shanann. She called some rehabs and looked up rehabs. But now that the Watts family made Chris come out with this audio of him saying that he got the oxy from the basement out of the bin from Shanann's old surgery medicine, it makes me think that somebody in that family is the one that gave him the oxy. So I guess we will find out one day, hopefully. And because Sherilyn put that out there, immediately Chris came back with this audio that other people are saying are altered or edited, but who knows? It is only Chris talking. You don't hear the person he's talking to. Now, they swear that there is no letter from Christopher stating that he would take the oxys to his grave, but it is stated in the book. We all heard that. And they said that they think that she created that hype to sell the book, that she needed some hype around the book. And so she felt like if she said Chris would take drugging Shanann and who gave the oxy to him to his grave, that more people would buy the book. She said that she could be wrong, this family friend of the Watts for 13 years, but she strongly feels it's possible. The family friend said that the author uses empathy to get close, and then she turned on the Watts. And that's exactly what the author said on another YouTuber's channel about Cindy. that she uses empathy to get you close, and then she turns on you. So they both feel the exact same way about each other. Isn't that interesting? And then it says that Jamie begged the author for her parents to read the book, and not even her. But Cadel said no. The family friend admits that Chris himself is still victimizing the whole family and Nicole Kessinger over and over again with all his new stuff he's releasing. And she also mentions that Chris told the family not to be bashing Shanann, but he in turn writes a book about how, or has a book written about how she emasculates him all throughout the book. And the Watts family friend is upset because the book tries to make Shanann compliant or complicit in her death, and that is not okay. She's saying no matter how she treated Chris, there is no excuse for her having to die. And the family friend also admits that the Watts felt one way when they thought that their son could never do this, and they feel a whole nother way today. She says that the only thing that the Watts want to control in all of this is getting Chris to shut up and not re-victimize them. She says at some point they will speak out, but it's going to take some time, especially now that this book has been released, and that it's not going to be easy to come forward, especially now after this book. And that they found out that the girls were so-called murdered twice when we did. And I feel like if anyone should be able to come tell their truth, it should be the family. Or they know they are by no means obligated to do anything. But Chris should sit back for a little while and chill and let them come forward and tell their perspective. But they don't have to. But they are saying... I saw Frank, if it's really Frank, saying that Sandy's going to write a book. And if anyone should be able to tell their story, they should. Before Chris should. The author allegedly has sent threatening messages to the Watts family, threatening to sue them. The Watts family friends said that the author talks about... how Cindy made her feel like she needed to help her and got close to her, and then that she just all of a sudden turned on her and dumped her. And she is saying that about her as well. The author is saying that about Cindy, and Cindy in her defense said that she effed them over, and so they cut her out of their life after that. And this family friend of the Watts says that she's been friends with Jamie Watts for 13 years and that the Watts has a lot of love and support and very close-knit friends in their life. And so if they were horrible people, they wouldn't have so many friends. Pretty much. They said that the author inserted herself and then treated them badly, and so she was asked to stay away by their loved ones. And she is simply an author, you guys. She only wrote editorials before this and articles. This is her very first book. She's not a true crime author. She is a new author, brand new, very first book ever. So, I see opportunist. Sorry. She didn't interview anyone but Chris. She didn't try to interview anybody. She doesn't even ask what the friends' names are or use the friends' names. So she didn't even reach out to Nicole Atkinson and ask if she could use her name, I guess, because she doesn't use her name. And we all know that the discovery ends at sentencing. So there's no research beyond that except trusting a man that has clearly told 3 different truths. And the author said that Shanann had a huge presence on YouTube. That is not true. She did not have a YouTube channel. She did get a huge presence on YouTube after she passed, but most of her presence was on another social media platform and Facebook. And the family says that the bathroom repentance story is a lie too, that Chris only got caught doing that one time. He was in middle school, and when his mom asked him what he was praying about, he said, "Oh, I just pray before I shower every day." So they're saying that the author lied about that as well. They often wonder about Nicole's involvement in all of this, but they said at this point they've stopped speculating on her role. The book points out that Chris lured, or that Nikki lured Chris with lewd sex acts and pictures, and I don't understand why Kato would put this all off on Nikki. Chris did that as well. Let's not forget that Chris sent pictures to her, and he was talking to her the same way. And so I don't understand why Sherilyn Cato victimizes these women all throughout the book, making them look bad because Chris said so. They do not like how Chris is blaming Nicole, the woman in the narrative, as the Jezebel in the book. And the family friend points out that it's always the fault of another woman in this case and never Chris's. So they have a little bit of clarity with that. Then the family friend said, let's imagine for a second that Nicole Kessinger is completely innocent and she is another one of Chris's fall guys. And that there is a possibility that Chris did this on his own. And why can't we believe that? Is it because we don't see Chris being smart enough? Is it because of the pictures and the discovery that Nicole sent? Is it because we're just judging her? That's what she was saying. She don't understand why the women are getting blamed in the book, and she became a very big feminist after reading the book. And she's saying that the author is only calling Nicole Kessinger dark because she's a geologist and has crystals. We don't know if that's true or not either. I also noticed that the book contradicts itself by saying he did not know his marriage was bad until he met Nikki. But in another place in the book, the author says that Chris describes how awful his marriage was. So which one is it, Gatel? And then the author also contradicts herself in the book by saying that if Shanann had not left for NC, that Chris would not have had the affair. But in the book also, it states that when they did the Oops, I Did It Again video, that Chris was already seeing somebody at work. And that was May 29th. So the family swears that Chris never said he was taking the oxy to the grave, that the family says it was oxycodone and not Percocet, and that Shanann was prescribed it after her surgery, and that he was giving it to her instead of headache medicine, and he wanted her to have a miscarriage, but the search was for Oxycontin. Now, he is saying it is unrelated. They are saying that the two are unrelated, that he gave her oxycodone, Percocet, and that he was searching Oxy for something totally different. Now, I know that Nicole Kessinger might not have had to be an addict to be able to have access to Oxys. Here, an 80 milligram Oxy will go for $50 on the streets. So she could have been selling Oxys for all we know. And maybe she had some friends that wanted to stop buying them from her. So she decided that she would call a rehab for them. Or she was an addict. But why did Nicole Kessinger call the rehab? And why are the Watts so adamant to have Chris make this audio saying that he got the Oxys from the basement bin? There's more to the Oxy story, I'm telling you. So, the Watts said that the medicine bin in the basement was not surprising to them because Shanann was a couponer and that she was getting baby Tylenol before she even had kids. So, her hoarding the medicine in the basement is not a surprise. The family friend says that the book says that Jamie and Shanann had issues a week before the wedding, and it never says what. And Jamie is saying that the issues were because she could not get off work to go get her nails done with Shanann in the bridal party, and so they had an argument, and that is why they decided not to come to the wedding. And the book says Jamie was there during Nutgate, and the family says that is definitely not true, that Jamie was not there, and neither was Ronnie, and the book says that he was. So do we think that Shanann suspected Chris was having an affair, and maybe that's why she did the Oops, I Did It Again video, maybe just to show the mistress, hey, look, we're pregnant? Some people speculate that Chris and Nikki met at work because he was pushing Thrive on her. The family friend says that the family didn't get any answers to any questions. They just got more confusion by the book. And the book is so jumbled, you really never know if it is Chris talking or if it's Sherilyn's opinion. And she says a lot of things in the book, but does not explain any of it. And she also admits that it was hard to write because she only had one point of view. And normally a true crime book has all sides of the story. And family swears that that Chris never told Sherilyn Cadle that Nicole's friends were dark. He says that he never met them and that there was a picture of one of Nicole's friends and Sherilyn said, oh, they look dark. And that is where the whole Nicole's dark friends came from. But I personally saw it in his letter in the book. So it wasn't a letter. And he said himself in one of his letters towards the end of the book that Nicole had some dark friends and there were some dark things going on in her apartment. Okay? So, yeah, got that one wrong, girlfriend. And this information is coming from Mel Lowe. She's supposed to be a family friend of Jamie Watts of 13 years. She's been all over YouTube during all of this. And she also read the first few chapters of Kathleen's book that was given to Jamie and ended up getting leaked because it was forwarded to Jamie and then Jamie sent it to someone and then it got leaked. But the book does not officially come out until July of this next year. The family friend says that the FBI still has Chris's phone, that they told them that they could get the pictures of the girls off of it, but they are keeping it. And they're saying that Kathleen is a real true crime author and that she writes about victimized women and she gets really close to the women that were murdered in the case and that this book will be coming out in July of this following year. And the author got close to Cindy, Ronnie, and Jamie Watts and she wanted to help them kind of filter between the facts and the fiction. And that she believes Chris pitted Shanann and Cindy against each other and that he nurtured the conflict instead of helping it. And Kathleen seems to think that Cindy is an angel and has been made into looking like Satan. And Kathleen thinks that Kathleen also thinks that Shanann and Nicole Kessinger are angels and that they got portrayed as devils. And she says it's all by Chris and that it's all Chris's fault, that all three women have been vilified. And so this should be an interesting book, you guys. I can't wait to get it in July of this year. And then there's another author coming out with another book in November. And the family friend said that she did never meet Shanann, but she is trying to help people see things from the Watts perspective. So she is a Wattbot. And Kathleen's book will supposedly look at all sides, and she knows that Chris is going to lie. And that the Watts chose Kathleen to write the book while Sherilyn was writing her book. And that Kathleen allegedly knows Chris is filthy and guilty and always lies. And yet the Watts asked her to write the book because they knew Sherilyn would not get the investigative answers that they needed. And evidently Kathleen has already had some chapters that were leaked. And those were the chapters on Cindy. And that's why everyone thought Cindy wrote a book. And I also find it odd that Nikki never lets the agents interview her at her apartment. Was there something at the apartment that she didn't want to interview there? She met at the park the one time instead of inviting them over. Then she had them pick her up and take her to the station. And so it's like we never ever got any kind of perspective about Nicole's home life like we did of Shanann's. And so, was she selling oxys? Was she addicted to oxys? Did the oxys have nothing to do with her? And it all falls on the Watts? Like, what is going on with this? And why is everybody got all this sneaky behavior if they're so innocent? And Frank did say that Sandy is writing a book. And I did learn during all of this that cheating can be demonic, and that sometimes people aren't who they think you are or you think they are. And sometimes you got to stop working and love your kids and love on your kids, because Shanann loved her kids without a doubt so much. But sometimes you just got to stop working and just focus on spending more time with them than you are online. And that people will exploit crimes to make money. And I am doing this case because of all the similarities it has to me, and me almost dying by the hands of my husband's hands around my throat in Frederick, Colorado. And so I'm not trying to make money off the case. I started this channel to spread awareness about Asperger's. And then my family got sick of me talking about the case. And so I needed an outlet. And the book came out at the same time, so it was perfect. And Nikki knew Shanann was pregnant. At the very tiniest bit, she might not have thought it was his. Maybe that. But she definitely knew he was pregnant. And that she was pregnant. I'm sorry. And don't you dare go into a woman's house, if a married woman's house. That is just wrong on 1,000 levels. And I learned a lot about nut allergies and the difference between a peanut and a tree nut. And so I can be aware of these things, because there's a lot of kids that have those allergies. And I'm not the only one that bought into the Thrive Pyramid. And people can abuse supplements. Vitamins, you guys. People abuse vitamins. That's crazy. And the Watts did not know that Chris's story, about Chris's story, until sentencing. And the FBI tapes and this book. I didn't know that. I thought they did. And I believe Shanann was given Oxy the morning that he killed her, because he kept talking about her getting drowsy. I believe that the Oxys came from the Watts or Nicole because of the rehab calls. And I honestly believe that that house is haunted now and that nobody should ever buy it. And Chris Watts sealed the kids' medical records, and he refused to give his parents power of attorney to open them. And the cadaver dogs do not pick up on demons. So what in the heck happened in the basement? I want to know what happened in the basement. And if you read Cato's text to Watts, you can clearly see on the outside she pretends to be a Christian, but on the inside she can be very cruel and mean. And Kathleen's book that comes out in July, it will address Chris in a whole different light than the way Cato did. She opens up with the unanswered questions about the case. And the author Kathleen knows Chris will never tell the truth, but she calls him out in the very first chapter about that. She is an investigative author. She fell in love with Jamie and Cindy, and she is a best-selling author, and her name is Kathleen Houston. And she has written about the royal family and historical women that have been murdered. Another scenario is that he gave the girls some drugs too, and he killed them in their sleep. He could have killed them before Shanann got home. He could have been keeping them alive, and they woke up and saw him killing their mom, and so he felt like he had to kill them. Maybe that wasn't part of the first plan. We just never know. And I never thought that they were alive. I never thought he killed them twice. I never thought he drugged them. So why not think it's plausible that Nikki helped in some form or fashion? And Chris did say in a letter to Nicole, in a letter, that Nicole had dark friends, according to the book. So why are the Wattbots going around saying that he didn't say that? And why did Nikki's phone ping in Frederick? Why did Nikki look up rehabs and call one while he was in NC? An 80 milligram Oxy is worth $40 to $50 on the streets here in North Carolina. Was she addicted? Was she selling them? All speculation, because there's no way you kill your entire family to keep from your mistress finding out about a baby she already knew about. So your motive is shot, Chris. So what is your motive? Chris, I'm patiently waiting for your fourth truth.